All right, guys, so we finished our beach towel and now we are ready to go on to the other objects that we have. So I apologize for having to stop after the beach towel. Got interrupted by a custodian coming in and wanting to clean the room that I'm at where I'm filming this stuff. So let's go ahead and get started. So now that we have our surfboard and the beach towel done, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the swim shorts next, because you see that's next here on our layers board. And I'm going to go ahead and make it easier for myself for creating the swim shorts. And I'm going to hide the beach towel and the surfboard because I want to be able to have all of this space available as I'm working. And occasionally when you are able to view those other elements, those sometimes interfere, and if you click on the wrong thing, it switches your layers, and there's all sorts of craziness that can occur through that. So I'm just going to stick with my swim shorts and hide those other two elements so I can focus on it. All right, the first thing that we need to do with our swim shorts is to create the waistband of the swim trunks. So you need to activate your rectangle tool, or remember, shortcut is M, and go ahead and just draw a basic rectangle. Then go up to your shape, and the dimensions that we need for this is 95 by 15. The next thing that we're going to do after we put our dimensions in, make sure our color is correct. You should still have that same purple color that we had on the beach towel, but if you don't, then that color code, open it for you so you can see it, is 4A288C. So make sure that that is the color that you have on your, sorry, I had to mute my email stuff so it's not bugging us. Make sure that that is the color that you have on your waistband for your swim trunks. All right, now go back up here to shape again, and we are going to round the corners, and we want all four corners rounded. So we're going to click this button here to make sure we have the links. So once you have the links, let's round all four corners. As soon as you do one, all of them will change. But go to 3. So 3 pixels is what we're rounding to. And I'm going to go ahead and get my selection tool ready to go so I can start working on this. So now what we're going to do is, because we just have a slightly rounded rectangle, but I want to modify it just a little bit where I can make this section kind of come down a little bit. So in order to do that, we're going to use the anchor point tool. So make sure you have the waistband highlighted. The anchor point tool is Shift C, or it's this one over here. The anchor point tool. And with this, I'm going to take the middle section of the bottom part of the rectangle and just slightly drag it down a little bit. Remember, we did that when we were working on the surfboard. We used the anchor point tool. So now I'm going to get my selection tool back so you can see what I created. And now we're going to do the legs of our swim trunks. So legs are very rectangular, so I'm going to get my rectangle tool back again. I'm going to draw my rectangle on there. Come up here to our dimensions. We need a 70 by 90 rectangle. And we want to round our corners to the maximum value for this, for just the upper ones. And then the lower ones, we're only going to round to 3. So because we have different values, I'm going to have to unlink that. And the maximum value, since I only have 70 pixels for my width, because we're going to do these top 2 corners, since I only have 70 pixels, 70 divided by 2 is 35. So 35, and I'm just going to type it in because it's going to be a little bit easier than having to press that arrow button all the way up to 35. So I got my top 2 to 35. I'm going to open that back up because now I want you to do the bottom 2 just to 3. So it's just a little bit of rounding on those bottom 2 corners. So 35 for the top and 3 on the bottom. Get my anchor point or my direct selection tool back. So this is what we want. You can kind of see how it mimics the pant leg, but I don't want the same purple color. I want to have a little bit of a contrasting color. So come over here to your color picker, and we are going to do the magenta color that we had before. So let me remind you of what that color code is. It's DF2754. Oh, guess what I forgot to do, guys? Forgot to select it and then tell the computer I wanted that color code. So now I got to do it all over again. So don't forget to select your object before you go to change its color. All right, there we go. So I have a nice pant leg. Obviously, if we have one pant leg, we're going to need another. So what I need to do is make a copy of this. So you guys remember your options. You can do Command C, then Command V, or I'm going to hold down Alt and hope that it gives me a copy, which it does. Now I need to position it a little bit so it's going to actually look like swim trunks. Now you'll notice that as I'm moving this, that those legs are getting right in front of that waistband. So I want that waistband to be moved to the front. I want to see it first. So what I need to do after I get these kind of where I think I want them to be. So now that I have them almost positioned where I want, I'm going to come back up here and select my waistband and then do a right click. I'm going to go to Arrange and I'm going to choose Bring to Front. That means that all of these pieces are layered one on top of the other, and I want that waistband to be what I see on front. So it's almost where I want it, but you can see there's a little bit of white down there. So I'm going to shift this down a little bit. Maybe move that leg over a little bit more. Make sure that they're about the same level. All right, that looks good to me, so I'm going to leave it just like that. Now let me turn my page so I get to the next thing that we're going to do. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is create pockets for the legs. So pockets are going to be kind of circular. So it's like part of a circle. So we're going to have an object that goes here. So I'm going to come over here to my tools, my shape tools, and I'm going to get an ellipse. So I want to make a circle, and I want it to be 40 by 40. So I'm going to come up here to my shape, and because it's a circle, it's going to be the same no matter what. I don't want an ellipse. I want it to be a perfect circle. So 40 long and 40 wide both. Get my selection tool back. Try again, my selection tool, so I don't make another circle. I do want to make another circle, but I want to make one just like this. So now I'm going to go ahead and hold down Alt and drag another one so that I have a copy. Or again, Command C, Command V. Oh, you know what? I'm going to do something else. Stop what you're doing. Do Command Z. I don't want to make a copy yet because this circle is just going to perfectly blend in to my pocket. You can't even tell what it is. So we need to change the color. So come over here to your color picker, open that up, and let's make it a light pink color. So that is F294B6. There we go. That'll stand out. So now let's go ahead and make our copy. So I'm going to do Alt and drag one over. So we're going to place it about where you think a pocket would be. Now it is going to overlap, which is fine because we are going to cut away the stuff that we don't need. So I'm going to make sure that my purple band is in the front again. So I'm going to do right click, arrange, bring to front. Now it goes back in front of those new pink squares or circles that I put in. And now it's time for us to cut out the extra stuff. So I'm going to draw a box to select all of those. And then the command is Shift M, in case you forgot. Now that I've got all the little puzzle pieces, I'm going to hold down Alt and delete that little extra bit. Got to make sure, see how that little line is there? That'll only erase that little red line. So you want to make sure it's that section there that you're clicking on. There we go. Get my selection tool back. And now it looks like I've got little pockets on there. All right, well, we are not done yet. We're going to add a little fancy bow to our swim trunks. So in order to do that, we're going to make the center of the bow first. So I'm going to make a very small square. So I need my rectangle tool. Draw that in there. Let's come up here to this shape. So I told you it's going to be small. I want it to be 8 by 8. We want it to be a perfect square, so it's got to be same dimensions for length and width. And since it's so small and it's hard to see, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Now, obviously, you guys can tell that if I put this purple square right here, it's going to blend in. So we do want a different color. So let's make it this magenta color here. And I'm going to show you guys, I think I showed you guys this trick before, but if not, I got to remind you of what it is. So instead of having to type my code in, since I do want this magenta color, if I click on my eyedropper tool, and because that is selected, and then I drop onto that magenta color, that thing that I had selected is now that color. So that's a quick way to do it. So now let's move this right to the center. Okay. So the next step, because it is so square, let's go ahead and round those corners a bit. So go up here to shape, and let's link it. So all 4 corners are going to adjust. And let's just do 2 pixels. Okay. Let's click off of it. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. All right, so now we're going to make the bow part of it. And what I'm going to show you how to do this is we're going to draw one side of the bow, and then so that it's a perfect match, because we could draw the entire bow on there, but I want it to be a perfect match. So I want it to be symmetrical. So I'm only going to draw 1/2 on, and then I'm going to copy and reflect it so it'll be a perfect match. So let's start by drawing that one side. So in order to do this, we need the brush tool. So we haven't used this one yet. So there it is right there, the paintbrush tool. Now when you choose the paintbrush tool, what you're going to do is, let me make sure it's going to work. Yeah. So did you notice that the whole thing over here changed? So there's no fill color, but I have that magenta for the stroke color. When you're using the paintbrush, all you're going to have is a stroke color. So it's not because you're just making like a line with it. So it doesn't have a fill to it. So let me undo that, and let's change our stroke color to, gotta find it, guys. Sorry, hold on, lost my place on my sheet. It is D6F7FC, and this is like a little pale blue color. So there it is. So on our fill color, we don't want a fill color, we just want that stroke color. So now you're going to also change the value of the stroke to 5. So let's move it up to 5. And now I'm going to draw that bow using my mouse. Kind of looks like a cursive G almost. So if you don't like what you drew, you can always just do Command Z and then start over again. Not super happy with that one. I'm going to do it starting over here. It's a little too round for my taste. There we go. That works for me. So once you have something that you like, go ahead and get your selection tool again and select it. And we're going to have to make a copy of it. So I'm going to hold down Alt and then make a copy. Obviously this copy isn't going to work because it needs to be facing the other way. So you could go up here to Object, Arrange, Object Transform, and Reflect, or right-click over here and you have that same thing, Transform, Reflect, and we want it to reflect not up and down, we want it to reflect side to side, so we need a vertical flip. There we go. And so now I want to move it in place. Get it where you want it to go. So it kind of looks like a bow, but I want this magenta to be in front. So if you guys remember how to move something to the front, click on it and then right click, arrange, bring to front, and now it's there in the front. So it looks like I need to do a little bit more moving things around. And you can, I'm going to adjust that a little bit because I don't want it to look too perfect. It is a bow after all. Not all bows look perfect. And it is kind of big, so I'm going to shrink it down just a tad bit. So you can alter your bow the way that you want it to look. All right, let me zoom out, see if that looks okay. Yep, that works for me. Got a little crazy there with my loops, but I think it'll work. And now what we want to do last is put our shadow and then group the whole thing. So if you remember what we do for that, we need to get a rectangle and I'm going to draw it over 1/2. So if you notice what it drew, because it had no fill and a stroke color, that's not what I want. So I do have it checked, so let me change my stroke to none. Right now it's going to be invisible because there's nothing there. Let's change our inside color to the magenta. So I'm going to grab my eyedropper tool and pick up that magenta. So now my shape is magenta with no stroke. And let's go over here and put it back to multiply 30%. And that will give us our shadow effect. So the last thing that we need to do, cut away this extra stuff. So I got to draw my box around it. Shift M, hold down Alt, delete the extra. And let's see, you can see a little bit of shadow there. Oh, there's one thing that I noticed I forgot to do. So you guys might see right here how that shadow went behind. So one thing to fix that is I can go all the way back and I go to my bow and I do that expand appearance thing that we had done before. So let me show you what that is. Get rid of my rectangle again. So I'm going to select both. So remember how I did that? I clicked on one, held down Shift, and then got the second one. Then go Object, Expand Appearance. There we go. So now it shouldn't color right inside of there. So let's test it and see. Let me draw my rectangle again to get my shadow. I don't want blue. So get my eyedropper, change it to magenta, and go back over here to multiply, and 30. There we go, yay. So one of the things that got me to learn so much about this is all my constant, well not constant, but frequent mistakes. I told you guys I am not an expert, but I am learning as I go. Okay, so I did my whole grab and put a box around it. So now it's Shift M. Now hold down Alt. Did it work? I don't think it did. Nope. Okay, you guys are living this with me. Let's try one more thing. How about we expand the whole thing? I'm going to test it to see. What am I doing? Not doing it the easy way, am I? There we go. All right, I'm going to test it now, guys. Keep your fingers crossed that now it'll work. And if not, then this is something I got to learn. Okay, didn't do it. I don't know what happened with it, but you can still see that it has that little bit right in there. But I think I can live with it. So if you can live with it, that's fine. Live with it. If not, then don't even put a shadow on there. You don't need a shadow. It's up to you. Last thing to do, now that we have this done, hopefully you remember, is Command G after you grab the whole thing so that you can group it together. And now I can move my shorts around as one whole piece instead of all the individual pieces. All right, there's my swim shorts in my layer frame. So now you can see my swim trunks got onto my beach towel, which is fine because later we're going to move it all anyway. And now we're going to go to the umbrella. So let's go ahead and hide everything. And I am sorry to say that this umbrella is probably the trickiest thing that we are going to be making. So let's see if I can get it done for you correctly. Let's start by making sure we're on our umbrella layer. Don't want to mess that up. Then we're going to start with a rectangle. So go ahead, we're going to do a skinny rectangle because this is going to be the main part of our umbrella. Come up here to shape. Let's put our dimensions at 10 by 220. And we're going to round the corners to the maximum on this one. So 5 is as much as we can go since it's only 10 pixels wide. All right, now we are going to keep it magenta. So I don't know if you already had your magenta color up there. If not, you'll need to put the color code in for magenta, DF2754. All right, there we go. So now that I have this, this is going to be the base of it. Now I want to make the umbrella part of it. So the umbrella part is kind of a circle that's cut in half if you were to visualize it. So we have to make a circle. It's going to be big. I'm going to draw it over here. It's going to be 220 pixels in length and width because it is a circle. Okay, don't have any corners that we have to worry about. It is a circle. And we want it obviously to be a different color. We don't want a same color umbrella as the stick. So now the color I want you to put in is an orange color. F9A03F. There we go. Same orange that we had before with our surfboard. All right, so here's where it's going to get a little bit tricky. So we're going to put kind of base where you want this umbrella to go. And what we're going to end up having to do is we're going to cut a section off of the circle to make that umbrella shape. So this is where I said it kind of gets tricky. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, see this better. So in order to tell the computer that I want to cut a section, so we did that whole thing with the triangle in the front of the surfboard where we told the computer to minus front. It's kind of the same thing, a little bit different though. So based on where I see where my umbrella is going to be, I kind of want this top part to stick out a little bit. And then I probably want it to come to about here and cut across there. So I'm going to use my line segment tool. So just getting a line, and I'm going to make a line where I want it to go. I'm actually going to So you see that line, but I'm going to undo that because here's something important you need to know. This line, you need to make sure it goes all the way through and it's straight, but you want it to not be exactly on the perimeter of the circle. It needs to come a little bit further out. So I'm going to start it here. If you notice, as I'm drawing it out, it's telling you how long it is. And as I change the angle, notice that that angle value changes. So I want it to be perfectly straight, so it needs to be at a 0-degree angle right now. All right, next thing I want you to do, to me it looks like it's tilted. Hopefully it's not tilted. So the next thing that we're going to do is we have to select the circle and that line. And if you notice over here for our colors, there's no fill, there's no stroke. That's exactly what we want. We just want an invisible line that we can use to help us with figuring out where to cut that circle. So now come over to your selection tool. You should have the line already selected. If not, notice it looks like it disappears. It's still there. Oops, where did it go? Just got to click until you find it. There it is. So it's still there, we just can't see it because it's invisible. And now hold down Shift and click your circle. So the only two things that you should have are the circle and the line. You can move it over, move it away from this part here because we're going to dissect or cut away that section there. So in order to do this, we need our Pathfinder window again. So I already have it open. If you had closed it, remember to come up here to Window, and there's Pathfinder there. So if you have a check mark, that means you have it. And this time I'm going to use, instead of minus front, we're going to use divide. Okay, so divide is right here. So click on divide, and what that does is it's now divided this into two parts. Where that line was drawn is that division space. So now I've got this section here of the circle and this section here. So since both of these, or the whole thing is already selected, if you do your Shift M, notice that now I have this section here, so I can just click on that, boom, cuts it away. Get your selection tool back, and now you've got your umbrella part. So there we go. Pretty cool, huh? So you can move that in position where you want. So that wasn't the hard part, guys. We're still getting to the hard part. So that is coming up next as we try to make this umbrella look more like an actual parasol or a beach umbrella instead of an umbrella you would use when it's raining outside. So in order to do that, what we're going to do is make a rectangle that goes here at the bottom, and then we're going to put a triangle that goes here in the center, and then we're going to do a little bit of division stuff so that we can manipulate each part of it. So first things first, let's get that rectangle that I was telling you about. So get your rectangle tool, and I want you to build a rectangle that's going to fit directly under this base part. So I'm going to line it up and then draw it out. Oh, I knew my circle was a little off. Can you tell how my line was not even? See that little extra space that comes out? That's okay. We can work around that. I do need you to make sure that this rectangle, though, will fit underneath there. So if it's just a little too long, which mine is, zoom in a little bit. And I want to see if I can't alter my umbrella just a tad. Actually, now I'm just going to end up covering up. Never mind. Don't do what I was telling you guys to do. Got to get back to 3. Get to 0, get to 0. Oh, it won't go where I want it to go. There you go. If you can't get it back, just click on that. So transform, that's your angle measure right there. Okay, so going back to what we were doing. Let's make this a darker orange color just to differentiate between that part there. So get your color picker and put EF5500. That's a darker orange. So that's what we want there. And I'm going to go ahead and just move it up. So if it's not perfect, that's okay. We'll just make do for now. All right, next thing is going to be to put that triangle in place. So I'm going to show you a new tool. You can come back over here to the rectangle tool and just get your polygon and do a triangle, but I'm going to show you something else that you have available, and that is the shaper tool. So the shaper tool is pretty cool because it gives you the crosshairs. You can start drawing a shape that you want, and the computer recognizes what you're trying to make and then makes it for you. So as long as it's a polygon that it recognizes, so if I wanted to do a hexagon, oh, come on, you gotta make sure it's closed. And see, then it puts in a hexagon. So let me go ahead and delete that now. So I wanted you to be aware of this tool, that you had it as an option. We want this triangle to have no stroke value. So if it has a stroke, turn that off. Get your fill value back up. Oops, hold on, I forgot to select my triangle, so it didn't change it. No stroke value. No stroke value. Try again. No stroke value. There we go. Now activate your fill. And we want this to be a pale orange, which is F9D1AA. There we go. All right, so we want to move this triangle so that it's going to fit all the way down here to the bottom. So obviously my triangle isn't big enough, so I'm going to expand it out. You want it to be kind of like this. It doesn't have to be exact perfect, but it does help if it takes up on the bottom about 1/3 of this total space here. So here's 1/3, here's 1/3, and then there's 1/3. So you want it to be big enough so it takes up about 1/3 of that space. All right, now we're getting ready for the stuff that's hard and tricky to do. So I got a big sigh coming. So if you remember, when we took this circle and then we drew that line segment in there and then used the divide tool, we got to do that exact same thing with this rectangle here. So this is where it gets tricky because I want 3 sections of this rectangle. So I need to get my line segment tool, and I want this line to go straight through, kind of like, I haven't drawn it yet. Those are my guides showing you where it would be. And that's what I want. So I got to make sure I'm lined up on that guide. Draw a straight line. It's got to go all the way through that orange, dark orange rectangle. So there's one. Now it's still using my line segment tool. I'm going to do another one. So it needs to be on this end of the triangle. I'm drawing it out now. Oops. See, it moved a little bit on me. Oh, hopefully it'll be okay. Here, actually, I'm going to undo that. So I did Command Z because I'm a little worried that it wasn't straight. And I'm going to do it again. Oh, it moved on me again. It's my mouse. My mouse is moving. There we go. Finally got it. Okay, guys, here's the tricky part. This is what gets people messed up. Get your selection tool again. We're going to select this line segment, which we just did. If you can't find it, because remember it's invisible, kind of hover over there. See, it showed up on me. I didn't do anything. It just showed up. So click, go, hold down Shift and find that other one. There it is. Click. Hold down Shift and click on the rectangle. So you should only have those 3 things now. So you have that line segment, this line segment, and the rectangle. Make sure that you do not have the circle clicked or anything else because it will mess the whole thing up. All right, now go to your Pathfinder again and hit divide again because we're going to divide this one rectangle into 3 parts. Boom, did it. All right, so if you don't get anything like this where you see that it's 1, 2, 3 rectangles, you have to do Command Z and try it again, or call me over for help to help you out with this part because it is a pain in the you-know-what. All right, now that I've got those 3 rectangles, we're going to modify each individual rectangles. At the moment, they're grouped together. So see if I move it, the whole thing moves. So I don't want them grouped together. So come up here to your direct selection tool, or A. Okay. And let's go ahead and change the center one here with its color so that it's a little bit different. So double click. It's gonna let me do it. Okay, click off the screen and then click on that center one. And that's gonna, see how it highlighted just the center one? Now go over here to your color picker. And we want that center one to be the lighter orange color. So that's F9A03F. Or what you could have done, if you remember what I taught you before, is you could have had that selected, use your eyedropper tool, and then grab that lighter color. All right, so now, here's the fun part. Now we're going to do some modifying on this to make it look more like an actual parasol. So get your direct selection tool again, and let's start with this one here on the left. So make sure it only selects this one on the left. I want you to go up here to Effect, then to Warp, and Bulge. So Effect, Warp, Bulge. Click on that and make sure that we're on the vertical and our bin value is at 30%. Okay, so bulge, vertical, bin value is at 30. Don't do anything with the distortion value. Then click OK. I'm going to unclick off so you can kind of see what that did there. It bulged out that side over there. So now we want to bulge out this side over here. So in order to do that, go back to your direct selection tool so you're just getting that one there. So we did Effect, Warp, Bulge, but now if I bulge it at 30%, I have a bulge over here on the left side, and I don't want that. I just want it over on the right. So I want it the opposite of this. So the opposite of 30 is negative 30. So change that to negative 30, then hit OK. Oh, it didn't do it. I had something wrong. Command Z. It messed up on me. Where did I mess up? Bulge, vertical, negative 30. Oh, what did I mess up, guys? I messed up on something. Let me see if I can fix it. Object, expand appearance. Nope. Son of a gun. I don't know where it messed up on me.